So I'm bringing my kind of like love letter to Hamilton to the residency. So I'm gonna be painting like this carnival kind of series. But I guess like the more and more I think about it, it's just like kind of like the life series about like what it's like to be out and experience life in Hamilton and like all the different wonderful souls that are here. My dad used to always take me to the circus and like fairs and carnivals and festivals. And not only my dad, my whole family would as like kids. So it's just something that's always kind of fascinated me that like that you could be different or other. And
Mhm.
like this is back in the early 80s. So
Mhm.
and then there's this restaurant on Main or in Sherman or King and Sherman called the Big Top. And we used
Mhm.
to go there a lot as growing up because meals are really cheap and it's really good greasy spoon. So I just really like, I don't know, it's just something that like it sat with me. But then also too, like a few years ago, just now with social media, I kind of call it like the online circus in a way,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
or like a media frenzy kind of bit, like
Mhm.
because you can be other on like some platform like Instagram and still find your own community too. So is
Yeah.
it really, are you really an other even more?
Right.
Uh, yeah, so I just been kind of thinking about all that. I live like in right at Durand in the Durand neighborhood, so Dundurn and Maine here in
Mhm.
Hamilton. And there's a lot of really interesting halfway houses around here. And like I really love that community of people and or just like how they moved the psychiatric hospital, but like
Mhm.
the ward down to here to St. Joe's and like it's integrated health now. So I just like seeing all the different souls and like how humans could be uniquely different, and I think that inspires me, so I call that a bit of like my carnival performers.
Yeah.
I think being, well, this is what I say is like I'm always like I think I came here to earth under the star of being an artist. Like I don't I've worked in coffee shops, I teach yoga and meditation. Like I've had many different callings in this life. I kind of like, but I just feel like art is something I always go back to, even when I fight with it and put it down for a bit. It's like, it just always like intuitively kind of gets made. Now, being a black artist or like just an artist of color, and it's like, it's so um beautiful, but it's like interesting to me because I wasn't raised by parents that like taught us about race at all.
Mhm.
So it's like I really had to learn that aspect and unpack that for myself, and that didn't come to like a lot later in life and with like a bit of education and a bit of like intelligence, just like like trying to understand like my grandmother's native, my dad's African American, and my mother's Scottish French. So I kind of
Mm.
always just, for me, like when people like want to put me or even in the LGBTQ plus box, like or
Mm.
the like black box, like it's I always just feel like I'm a universal soul. Like
Mhm.
I just like and I think maybe that like it kind of sounds esoteric or like a bit like kooky, but it's just like I really do, Nathan, step away and let inspiration come in and work. Being on our, we were talking earlier, I just love all souls in general. So like that's why like I think like you kind of have to have compassion and see that way in order to like not be judgmental of others
Mhm.
or, and I just always kind of think it's like a reflection of myself. And like because I'm mixed with so many different things and
Mhm.
because I feel so many different ways, even like sexually, it's like I just like I'm like I often feel like I'm not the best representative to speak on those kind of issues completely.
Mhm.
Because I just come from like, or I try to come from a very open space that like
Mhm.
I think everybody should be included at the table or at the party. Everything out. I work on the floor. I don't work on a wall. And I lay everything out. And I always say, like, Nathan, who you're talking to right now, steps aside in my brain and inspiration steps in. And then I just kind of go. It's
Mm.
like it's really like playtime, I guess, in some ways, but like it is like a very maybe playtime like reduces it a bit. Like it is like for me like almost like a very spiritual or like
Mm.
a praying is like painting as prayers kind of practice.
Mhm.
So it just kind of I just kind of go and like I'm working on maybe one thing or 20 different things. I find like when I deliberately think of something I'm trying to paint, it doesn't really work well as a painting. So I kind of just
Mhm.
learned to like trust and remove that of like I need to paint this and
Mhm.
just being an artist in Hamilton, like I moved here about 10 years ago. I grew up here and then I left to go to school at OCAD in Toronto and I stayed in Toronto for maybe 15 years or so. But then Toronto got way too expensive and I wanted to live full time as an artist versus serving people or working at restaurants and just different jobs. So it was just like I can manage in Hamilton 8 years ago paying $500 for a bachelor and then like I can just make work or just like be maybe
Yeah.
just like to live. So that's why I moved home and I love it here. And that's why I'm making this body of work now in the Hamilton Art Gallery is kind of a love song to being
Mm.
home and how great Hamilton's been to me. It's a bit unfortunate that like geared to income housing isn't readily more available for
Mhm.
artists or
Mhm.
just like like social assistance programs in general. I myself like again like I said to people like the pandemic and getting CERP like I never made $2,000 in my life, so like
Mhm.
getting that monthly I was like it just was like heaven to me, I guess, in a way. Not that I praise money or anything, but it was just like, oh, like I can like this is like I really am an advocate for universal base income because it just made me feel better. I was like,
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna be taken care of. And like I have cousins in the States that didn't get anything or very little
Mhm.
help from their government and just the way they felt. Like
Mhm.
again, like I don't think everybody being on social assistance is the answer, but I also think too, like, everybody having enough to eat and shelter is like super important.
Yeah.
Those are just like basics. So oh, absolutely. Like I do use them and like I wrote out because they have like a station out at Dundas or
Mhm.
University Plaza. So
Mhm.
it was always great to like go out there to the yoga studio or just
Mhm.
along the trail.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no,
That's
for sure. I love those bikes. I have an account and
okay.
before I had my own like bike, I would use it. And then now since it's been stolen, I would like to go back to using the bike share program for sure.